Welcome back to another episode of Spittin Hoops, episode 28, I believe. And we're back with our first check-in of the season. The season just started. We did a lot of reviews, a lot of predictions, etc. in the last few podcasts. And now we're here to give some reactions, to digest basketball. Anthony, how are you feeling?
Bro, this NBA season is already crazy. We've had so many great close games. All of these players are playing out of their minds well. And there's a lot of players who aren't even playing that well yet. The standings are all out of order. We'll talk all about that. And then there's a lot of teams that are starting to look good. Validate some picks that, I'm liking some teams I'm excited to get into. Max, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. There is one thing we do have to get out of the way. Obviously, the last podcast that we did, it went up right after the James Harden trade. And in that podcast, we did not have a reaction to the James Harden trade, but we had kind of mentioned stuff along the lines of it should happen and it should happen soon. So we said, screw it, we'll post it. But we should probably get that out of the way.
Yes, sir.
Sir. The Clippers sent James Harden and PJ Tucker, or the Clippers are receiving James Harden, PJ Tucker. Sixers getting Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin. Draft picks in 2027, 2029, and 2030. One of those or two of those is a swap. And then there was some funny business with some first-round picks between the Clippers and the Thunder. Just initial reactions. I think both of us are, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like it's good that it happened. It was about time.
It was about time for sure, bro. They just need to switch things up. The Sixers weren't looking good, and the time was so right. Once the Sixers started playing well to start the season, which they've been playing amazing, at that point, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm thinking, okay, I got my second star already in Tyrese Maxey, who's playing out of his mind. We have a supporting cast that looks good. Kelly Oubre signing was pretty solid. He's averaging 20 a game, averaged 20 a game last year, really focusing on defense. Another year just to get okay, why not? We're not going to use this guy anyways. So for the Sixers, I like it. And we'll get to the Clippers, but about time, bro.
Yeah, about time. The mess is over. I can unmute the words James Harden on Twitter. Overall, though, I'm kind of surprised it happened. And I'm kind of surprised I feel like the Sixers got a lot. This is a guy on an expiring contract who was definitely going to leave the team at the end of the year. And the Sixers get a bunch of expiring role players who are still pretty good. So now going into the next offseason, they have cap space, which is pretty surprising considering they're going to have control over Maxey and Embiid contractually. But, you get 3 first-round picks. The Clippers basically sent their 2027 pick swap to the Thunder so that the Thunder gave a protected pick to the Sixers. And it was because basically the Sixers didn't have a pick to swap with the Clippers. So they had to do some funny business there. And then there's also the 2029 pick, 2030 pick. The Clippers gave up 3 first-round picks for James Harden and a lot of role players. That is a haul. And I know the Sixers are good and they're allegedly a win-now team, but they're pretty well set up to win now and explore their options in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just open up their runway for sure.
Yeah.
They got a lot of money coming into. I think Tobias Harris is on an expiring contract, right? So, and he's playing well enough too. So, could you bring in a third star if you get that cap space? So it's really great. Shout out Sixers. Good that this whole gloom and doom about is the process finally over. We're going to trade Embiid, exploring all those options. At least that's kind of quelled for a bit. It's nice. And can we say that the third Eastern Conference team, much to my chagrin, has entered the top of the fray in the East?
I absolutely believe so, and we'll get to this later. I think you can argue they're a top 2 team in the East right now. I'm thoroughly impressed at the way they're playing. I know Tobias' shooting is not sustainable. He's shooting 60% from the floor right now. That can't hold up. But in terms of the manner in which they're playing, they have 10 good role players surrounding, Maxey and Embiid, and you just let Nick Nurse cook. And I don't know. Maxey is fantastic. Like I'm thoroughly impressed by him. Every game I've watched a lot of Sixers, surprisingly, but like every game that I watched, I've been incredibly impressed by Maxey.
Mhm.
He's taking a step, and it's almost like forcing Embiid to be more engaged because there's so much ball movement. There's like you don't give Embiid a chance to check out, you know. So I think they're really good, and I think it's translatable to the playoffs, hopefully, for them.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Um, that's the big question. How will Embiid do if he's able to play with a guy in Tyrese Maxey who rises to the occasion in the playoffs? Is that an elevator for him? He's dealt with guys who shrink in the playoffs, Harden, Ben Simmons. It'll be nice to switch it up if he's able to get that. Dude, I mean, good for the Sixers, man. Look at what they did.
I feel like they match up well against a lot of teams. Like the one thing every team needs right now is wings, and they have like a bunch of guys who can guard like small forwards to power forwards. You know,
Mm,
like they just have like Covington, and it's like yeah, Covington, Melton, Tobias Harris,
right.
Oubre,
Nick
Nick.
Batum,
Like
right.
they just have a bunch of guys that they can throw at wings, which most of the good teams in general have like solid wings.
Mm.
But no one has a depth of options like they do right now, to be honest. Um, long story short, I thought this was a great trade for Philadelphia specifically. I do not think this is a good trade for the Clippers, but
Mm.
they're on their little mission to get a bunch of stars and be the fifth seed in the West. So, like, sure.
Sixers are 6-1, 6 wins in a row. Lost to the Bucks on opening night, right?
Mm-hmm.
By 1-4, but like close game. Dude, Clippers, I'm actually warmer on this than a lot of people, I think. I'm kind of high on this because the way I'm looking at it is the thing that has messed with the Clippers consistently is injuries. It's just what happens. And when Kawhi has been healthy, I mean, we even noticed it in the opening round of the playoffs this year. He was a dog. Like he might have been the best player in the playoffs for those 3 games. I don't see a reason why he couldn't continue that. He was also amazing in 2021 before he tore his ACL. So he doesn't get worse. I love Paul George. I think Russell Westbrook has been pretty solid for them. I think they actually gave up less in this trade than because remember we were talking about this last week a little bit. Like we were just like, oh, what would it look like? And I think you had mentioned like you're like, I would want better players from the Clippers if I'm going to get James Harden.
You are right there. Like they did end up giving up more first than I thought, but they retained
Right.
like Norm Powell and Terrence
Mhm.
Mann.
That was huge.
Yeah.
And so I like your two big men in Zubac and Plumlee. Norm Powell's good. I mean, PJ Tucker, I think, is just solid defensive presence. He's already playing fourth quarters of games. They had a really goofy stinker last night, though, right? Like, I think they just weren't playing well. But like, I think that if the final part of this point is if the Sixers, they do their trade, and if the Clippers are able to kind of keep their health there if Harden can play some minutes that Kawhi would otherwise play. And now we don't have to do this back-to-back rest thing that's going to mess with us. And we can kind of take more time. We play 29 minutes a game. Every once in a while we get more blowout. I think talent-wise, like you have to go all in if you're the Clippers at this point.
I think I think you're valid in your take. Like, this is the best player on the market. Just go get him, figure it out later. I just still like, when I look at this team, I don't really see a contender, let alone a championship contender at that. Like Kawhi and Paul George are really good, and Kawhi, like you said, looked really good. But like, can he stay healthy? And even if he is really good, why did we add a guy that is going to take the ball away from him? Like that's the thing. James
Right.
Harden's at his best with the ball in his hand, making plays, distributing, making decisions. But in the playoffs, like, do you want James Harden making decisions? And that's also a general issue, with getting James Harden in general on your basketball team, I think at times. But I do think if he's going to win a chip, he's got to be the third best guy on a team at this point, and he probably is. So there
Right.
is that. But I do think there are going to be some partialities. Like there are going to be some games James Harden gets benched, and more specifically, I think there's going to be a lot of games where like you're going to rather have Terrence Mann than Russell Westbrook in that last 5 minute stretch. And like that like the game last night, Russell Westbrook just checked out on defense with like 2 minutes left, and it's like, what's going on? Like, I don't know.
There's a lot of question marks around this. This is a very big boomer bust experiment,
Yeah,
and and they all shot terribly last night. Like they were all just atrocious shooters. So they're gonna have to figure it out. Take some time. They definitely looked better against like the Lakers even on the night of the trade with PJ playing, and that was a great game. But yeah, I mean, Clippers are always a weird like they could do something and they usually get hurt. So that's I think the end of the idea is that because it seems like outside of the bubble, the only thing that stopped them was injuries, or the biggest thing that stopped them was injuries, not their quality of play. In my mind, you're not going to beat the Suns last year. Who did they play the year before? I mean, you lose in the play-in tournament to Minnesota one year. You lose Kawhi and you lose in the Western Conference Finals. So I don't know, but I'm fully with what you're saying. Like Harden has never been able to overcome the talent level of the best players he plays with.
yeah. I mean, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess we can move
but
on from that finally. Do you just want to go over some games that we watched, some highlights, some games? We'll do that. Um, the first game we were gonna highlight, I guess, is the Lakers Clippers game. That's the reason I'm asking. And this is a pre-Harden trade game.
right. So I think the idea is we just recap this game, and it's no longer very reflective of like a lot has happened in a week.
Yeah.
But at the time, this was a great game. This was a star-studded game. This was finally what the Battle of LA was supposed to be. There are three guys that are scoring 35. AD has a great game. LeBron has a great game. Lakers are down big. They come back. Crazy stuff happens. It goes to OT. The Clippers revealed a lot of issues that I think you even, which is one of the questions that the Clippers offense kind of stalled in the second half. And can James Harden be a conduit to help that? But just a great game. And yeah, got to hear about it. What did you take away from it?
I mean, basically, I took away from it is like if the Lakers have a third guy playing well, they're going to be really difficult to beat. That was like my main thing on the Lakers end. They got a good performance out of D'Lo, right? But
Right.
in general, we haven't seen much of that.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
since. I don't know. Honestly, it made me think the Clippers are really good, and then they made the trade. Like I kind of liked their setup pre James Harden trade. I liked kind of the options that they had, the depth that they had. They finally had continuity. This is something that the Clippers have not had. They keep making trades. There's a trade at the deadline for them and one trade in the offseason for them every single year. It's like they have no continuity. And like at the time, I was like, oh, this is nice. You know, I was like, Russell Westbrook is figuring out his role. And it's like, now he's got to kind of, I wouldn't say start from zero, but
Got to refresh.
yeah. Not to be so negative about this whole Clippers team. Like they still have Kawhi, Paul George, and James Harden. This is still an extremely talented team.
But, right. It's a high ceiling. It could if it worked, it'd be great. Yeah, dude, nuts. And then I mean, like you said about the Lakers, they need a third star to step up. And now AD's groin stuff. What's going on here? That this is the issue with the Lakers. If they can kind of get their flow in, they feel like 2020 Lakers.
No.
But how are you going to get there?
I don't know how they're honestly, I don't know because right now the league's so competitive, you don't really have time to figure it out. You got to win right now. Like, and they have the talent. They have the talent to figure it out, but do they put it together or not? At some point, it's going to be because the thing is, if they're 2-11 at some point, LeBron's packing it in. Like, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration. Like, it'd be too early still at that point, but like, he's an old guy. He's not like, what's the point?
He keeps doing it though. That's the crazy thing is he keeps playing no matter what the situation is.
He's playing like 38 minutes. Like, I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah. They had one game of him like, bro, you're 29 minutes. And he was like, no.
Yeah. It's like, all right. He's like, nah, this team's ass. Like, to be honest, like, he's like,
bro, Did you see that there was a stat that like the Lakers become it's like a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense when LeBron's on the floor, and then those numbers absolutely plummet when he's off?
Just not surprised, to be honest. Like,
Yeah, it speaks to how great he is and how bad they can be.
and to be fair, they match a lot of AD LeBron minutes, so that's gonna help like some of that as well.
Fair,
It's
very
not like
true.
he's just exclusively, it's
That's a good point.
but yeah. Um, anyways, second game to review. This is a game I think one of the most watched games and talked about games, I think, in like social circles that was like kind of not super prevalent, if that makes any sense, ahead of time. November 2nd, when Wembanyama drops 38 points against the Suns. Pretty incredible performance, frankly. Overall, that kind of felt like his coming out party. We saw the peak of what we thought we could see. He's just they're just lobbing the ball to him, and no one can catch it because he's 7'4", and then he's got a fade away or he's got a dunk, and I don't know, incredible game. San Antonio won. I believe it was 132 to 121. I don't know, thoroughly impressive, frankly. And I thought it was like an amazing coming out party. Plus 21 too, plus minus. So yeah.
Bro, incredible. 38, 10 boards, couple blocks, great from the free throw line, great from the 3-point line. This is the final form of what the NBA could be. This is maybe a macro hot take, but in 15 years, could we be talking about, there's no more LeBron Jordan debate? This is where this guy could go.
Gotta stay healthy.
He's got to stay healthy. That's the big question.
But I mean, this game really was like when you thought about Wembanyama and you're like, this is the sort of thing you wanted to see, and he like delivered within the first 10 games of his NBA career. Obviously, he's not going to have it put together immediately, but like the fact that he even put that up like is ridiculous. Playing against Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, like insane. And honestly, it was a spectacle to watch. Like they literally just would send him down to the paint, and then he would just stick his arms up and they're just lobbing the ball into him. And I like could not believe what I was watching. I was like, it felt like they could never not score,
Right.
Like you just have this like death beam, which is Wembanyama just catching the ball up here and laying it in every time down the court. Like that's what it felt like in the fourth quarter at times. In the third quarter, I was like, dude. And the Spurs, I don't know if they've truly figured it out yet around Wembanyama, but there were stretches there where you saw it. It was amazing. I don't know.
The wings need to keep kind of growing a bit. Trey Jones needs to grow a bit. They're so young. They could be something big, dude.
They need to start starting Trey Jones, honestly. He's right there. They need a orchestrating point guard, and he's right there. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's interesting that they're playing Sochan. Like, I'm curious how long this experiment's going to go for.
But I think he's really good. I think he should still start, but I think maybe I just think they don't want thing is they don't want Wembanyama playing center. They want him being a 4 for now.
Is he a 4 or is Zach Collins
Zach Collins kind of like the main center on defense.
Right.
Because they kind of just wanted Wembanyama to be able to like fly around the court, figure it out, maybe not like have elbows thrown at him, stuff like that in terms of injuries. But I think that's the reason they haven't done it. And like Sochan is really good. Like in a vacuum, Sochan's probably better than Trey Jones. It's just like Sochan is probably like a power forward. Like I don't know. He's not a shooting guard or even a point guard. So like it's like very weird, but
Is he a good shooter?
Honestly, is like
I'm like, is Draymond Green a good comp?
Yeah, actually pretty good. But
like the style.
I kind of feel like he attacks the basket a little bit more. God, I can't believe he's shooting like 30% from three. Like it feels
Draymond Green.
For some reason. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it's a pretty good comp, frankly. Like I think he should be starting. I think in an ideal world, Trey Jones is on the court as well, and Zach Collins is not on the court. But if you don't want Wembanyama to play center, it's like, I don't know.
Could you do it against a team like, of course, this was against the Suns. who don't have a great defensive center. So maybe you could run some smaller ball lineup with Sochan at your power forward, or like even playing some small center minutes against some of these smaller teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fascinating, honestly. But they're playing Zach Collins like 35 minutes a night right now. Like they are committed to that man at the moment. So I don't
Fantasy
see it.
star.
What?
Fantasy star.
Yeah, genuinely, honestly, the new Rudy Gobert. No,
Literally, bro. Rudy's playing well.
yeah. Moving on. We'll fast forward to yesterday. Uh, Jamal Murray. It's announced that he's going to be out for a month due to a right hamstring injury, or until the end of this month at least. Pretty disappointing for a guy who's missed a lot of time. Like it's just disappointing, like to hear. He's so amazing to watch, so it's like really disappointing to hear that he's going to be out. But also a guy with like injury history. I mean, missed the whole season 2 years ago. The 2 seasons before that, played in less than 60 games. And he finally played 65 games last season, but this is the worry. Like, if they don't have Jamal Murray, this Nuggets team is not the same.
You're totally right. Looking over his injury history right now, because the question is like, to your point, is it just that he is an injury prone player? Because he's borderline, like he's getting close, or is it this just happens to be an injury that doesn't have anything to do with his knees, which is fortunate. Like, thank goodness it's not a knee injury, right? I think that's like one of the silver linings about the situation. But like you're saying, he does have a history of a lot of games. So, like, I think that's like the weird question about like a lot of these athletes, where some athletes they get hurt and they like the same injury keeps popping up again and again, like Kawhi and his knees always. And then there's some guys like KD, I guess, right, where there's like he's had a variety of injuries throughout his entire career. So it's kind of like what's the lesser of two evils in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. I mean, we'll
Hopefully.
see. Like, hopefully he's fine. I definitely do think he's kind of an injury prone guy, kind of a smaller guy. Never like last 4 seasons hasn't played more than 65 games since but
besides last year, right?
And that was last year. But
That was a good time.
2 seasons before that, pretty injury prone. He played like it was like he played like 50 games, 45 games, missed the whole season, played 65 games last year. And that said, this was a guy at the beginning of his career, who was very durable for the first 3 seasons that he played. So kind of unfortunate to see this. Fingers crossed, but that's the worry. That's the worry with the Nuggets, honestly.
Bro, I got a quick thought. Just entertain me on this one. What if we like? Shouldn't it, with this point, we know if there's some genetic reason that somebody is more injury prone? Like all these NBA superstars that have their careers cut short due to like consistent injuries. Like, what is?
I just don't think there's like a injury prone like gene. Like I think a lot of it's like luck too, or like percentage chance. Like,
and then some of these guys like a Grant Hill or Tracy McGrady, it just like keeps happening and happening.
Yeah.
Roy, it's just it's just tough.
I view it more like a percentage chance. Like, okay, once you tear your ACL once, there's probably like a 15% chance you tear it again, and you just got to get lucky that's not that guy, and then you're not that guy.
Right.
But if you're John Wall, you're tearing your Achilles every other year after being super healthy for like first 7 seasons.
Forever. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Nah, man. Well, listen, Jamal Murray, man, he's fun. He's such a great player.
Yeah. And then without Jamal Murray, Nuggets going to beat my Warriors. So we're not going to talk about that game. But last night, the game we are going to talk about is the 76ers beating your Boston Celtics. This was the game of the night, I think. Thoroughly entertaining game. It was kind of the first real test post Harden trade for the 76ers, in my opinion. Philadelphia kind of dominates the second quarter. Boston, y'all really came back in the fourth. Terrific performance there. But the Sixers hold on. How'd you feel about the game, Tony?
I didn't feel that bad about it, honestly. The Sixers are a good team, and they're gonna be tough. So Yeah, I think it's as much it's mostly about how good the Sixers are, I think. And I think there were just a lot of mistakes that we made that we almost recovered from. Really almost down 8 with a minute and a half to go, get it to a game tying opportunity with Kristaps. Yuck, shot. But that's a shot I'll take any day of the week. A wide open Kristaps 3. So really exciting, dude. I mean, I thought overall this team, the Celtics, at least they have the talent is just so apparent. The backcourt is so good. It's just so swarming. It's so good. Um, and I can't rave enough about how good they are. So the talent's all there, and it's a bunch of guys who want to win. And this feels like such a difference in the past where I think we've had hangovers with specific guys and culture and things. And it's finally just Tatum and Brown. And they're the only tenured Celtics from when they both got drafted. And they're like, all right, let's kind of go to work. And Horford. But it's it's cool. I mean, it was a great game. The refs missed a call. Embiid stepped out. But we're not going to talk about
A little salty. I mean, honestly, I thought it was a super interesting game because also like your guys' bench got bodied. Like frankly,
that. Big problem.
Horford minus 23. Just
Horford's
honestly
old.
uncharacteristic, but it was interesting because on the other hand, you saw that like Philly, you're like, oh, here are all these role players. Like, I don't know, Pat Beverly hit a shot and he was like +4, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like a nice little spark, and like I don't know. It really made me feel like these teams are not like too far apart. This is also a game where you guys shot 40% from the floor, and Philadelphia shot 45% from the floor, and they only won by 3 points. So there is that. Would have liked to see Tatum have been a little bit more aggressive at times, but like can't flame him too much. I mean, Porzingis and Derek White and Drew were doing their thing in general throughout the game. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great sign of things to come for, I think, just rivalry too. Because if that's Harden instead of Maxey this year, they blow that game.
100%, 100%.
So, bro, it's exciting, bro. There's just every game has so much meaning in the NBA right now. Every single they all feel so important.
Yeah, and I know last thing, Tyrese Maxey. I know he went like what 11 for 27 from the floor last night, which is like not a good percentage.
But when did he score well?
Yeah, and then honestly, yeah, by the end it didn't feel that way.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah,
He had what, like 11 in the fourth quarter? He had a great fourth quarter.
yeah.
Broke my heart.
I I'm thoroughly impressed. Thoroughly impressed by both teams, but thoroughly impressed by the Sixers. That was why I really wanted to highlight that. But yeah.
Yeah, they're worthy of it.
With that, we'll hop into the standings overview. Anything that jumps off the page to you, Anthony? I'm just gonna go through some notable things. Nuggets lead the West, kind of with the classic set of teams in the top 12 to 13 range, kind of what you would expect as a totality. But you wouldn't expect the Rockets being 6, probably wouldn't expect the Lakers being 11th. And like the Grizzlies are last. Sure, going into the season, you probably didn't expect that, but you know, given the circumstances, it's kind of made sense so far. In the East, 76ers find themselves at the top. Didn't need James Harden to go 6-1 to start the season. Pacers, Hawks, Magic in the 4 to 6 slots is pretty interesting, and the back end is just probably what you'd expect. Miami chilling in 10th, as you'd expect as well.
Yeah. Overall takeaways, it's so early in the season. There's going to be some teams that start off so well and then teams that start off terrible. Jazz were 12-6 at one point last year or something, and Lakers were 2-10 at one point. So things flip. I mean, but it just goes to show how deep it is in both sides. Like the Spurs and the Rockets are teams that compete, and it takes buzzer beating shots by the Warriors to beat them. Or they blow the Lakers out. The Spurs, sometimes they show up to Madison Square Garden and get waxed, and other times they beat the Suns. So there just aren't really cakewalks as much in the NBA right now.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
I totally agree. And like in the West, I'm kind of realizing like 13 teams are pretty competitive. And like I know the Trailblazers like are supposed to be terrible and they have a bunch of injuries, but they won a few games this last week. I'm like, okay. I don't know what you guys are up to winning games, but go off. Uh, Generally, just want to give out some shout outs to some players. We're gonna hop to that. Um, I'm personally I really like watching Chet. In the in-season tournament, obviously Thunder Warriors saw a lot of him there, but in general, he's been terrific. Like
Mm.
honestly, incredible. Like 40, 50, 90, like 10 rebounds. It's like, what can I say?
Dude, he's been playing unbelievable. And I mean, it's him and Victor right now for rookie of the year. Because he's going to be special. The Thunder are going to be great, bro. Yeah, shout out Chet, man. I mean, he's playing like he knows he wants to, like he knows that he's here. A lot of rookies are too. Um, bro, like I'm gonna just expand on your take. I'm just impressed by how good the rookies are in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many guys. If we go through a quick list of difference makers who are rookies, Vic, Chet Holmgren, Brandon Miller, honestly, should we
Right,
say
he's been good.
Jordan Hawkins? Asar Thompson has been out of his mind. This kid, Marcus Sauce Sasser
Yeah,
from the
Marcus Sasser, dude, he's been terrific,
It's been
terrific.
amazing. Keep
Yeah,
going. Derek Lively. He's playing well. Scoot isn't even playing well. And we know how good he can be. I mean, I think Keontae George, he's a solid player. Casey Wallace.
dude. Casey Wallace and Keontae George have honestly looked great. Like Casey Wallace has had like a game where he's played like 38 minutes this season already, and on an OKC Thunder team that has like talent.
So many, so
Yeah,
many, so many young guys. Bro, it's nuts. Anthony Black, Jaime Jaquez Jr. Amen Thompson isn't playing that well yet. Like, I mean, the list just goes on and on. Sasha Vezenkov on the Kings, dude, is playing important minutes.
yeah,
It's nuts.
yeah. I totally agree. It's like genuinely like amazing. Like it's such a breath of fresh air, and I think they're a big reason why. Like, I think the development of rookies from last year to this year, plus the rookie class, has really been a reason that like the league looks a little bit more different than we thought it might. Like Derek Lively coming in and being like a starting caliber NBA center off the rip, that's like a big deal. That's the sort of things the Mavs needed to happen to be competitive.
Yeah,
Not something that you'd expect when they're drafting out of the 12th slot or whatever they did. So
great.
yeah,
Great trade that they made.
again,
Losing what's his face for the Thunder.
yeah, they traded Bertans,
Yeah,
moved back like 2 slots or whatever, and still got their guy. Even
bro.
like, there's been second rounders and people like that just playing really well too. Like again, thoroughly impressed top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to give a little shout out. Speaking of some of the guys I think have been developing really well, uh, Jalen Johnson on the Hawks is here. He is so good. He's been playing
So
30 minutes a game, averaging something like what 15 points, 10 rebounds, and like 3 assists. Super efficient, 60% from the floor on a Hawks team that's top 4, top 5 in the East right now. And that's the sort of guy that needs to develop for them to take a step, right? Like they'd maxed out what they could do with a guy like John Collins, but like Jalen Johnson can do like his reactions off a pick and roll, the ball movement with him on the court. It's really a breath of fresh air. Block a steal and a half a game. Like if you haven't watched Jalen Johnson, like please do. He's incredible. Like I thoroughly enjoy watching him. And as much as I don't love the Hawks, like I don't love watching Trae Young at times. Like they're a good team. Like this is now a really good team, frankly.
well, Trae Young is his stats leave a lot to be desired.
And they
Um,
haven't needed it. They haven't needed it.
they haven't, yeah, but this year, 22 a game, 33% from the field, 27% from three, 10 assists. So he's always an assist guy. I mean, imagine if he was playing better. But bro, Jalen Johnson, he's playing so well tonight. The Magic and the Hawks are playing, so that we have so much young talent that we get to look out for. It's so
No,
sick.
genuinely, yeah, I agree. And I really liked him, and I saw a little bit at the back of the last season, and now they've given him the keys, and he's been great. Genuinely incredibly impressive. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Magic Hawks, that's like way too much talent in like one game. Like that's just like poster child for why we need expansion. This is like two not really big contenders, and they all have like 8 really good players on both
Mhm.
sides. You know,
Bro, expansion would look. I mean, we've talked about the two cities, right?
Mhm.
Probably Seattle and Las Vegas as the likely teams. And then how would it work? I know this is a tangent, but real quick, like how would it work? Should there be an expansion? How does that happen? It hasn't happened in 30 years.
So it would probably happen before the draft. And it would be weird because the draft would need they might need to rearrange the off season where free agency happens first or something. I don't know what they would do. Actually, no, they would not need to do that. They would just for players under contract, you can protect 8 players per team. Once a player is drafted off your team, you cannot lose another second player.
Oh, okay. One
But
guy.
yeah, but the thing is that if free agency is after that, they would have to figure something out like what do free agents like or player options technically count as and things like that. But I don't know. But yeah, that's what they would do, and then they would have the draft after that, and the expansion teams would draft like fifth and sixth probably.
Bro, like I just went to the Raptors depth chart. Dennis Schroeder, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Jakob Pertl, Gary Trent Jr., Grady Dick, Chris Boucher. Okay, so you don't have that many, but you could go for Jalen McDaniels, you go for Precious Achua, and that's not even a good depth chart.
Yeah,
This is nuts.
like you could build a good team with all these guys. Yeah, I think it's gonna happen sooner rather than later.
Uh,
This season has really just been a poster child for it. Like there are so many good teams and so many players like not getting enough minutes. Like frankly, like the Thunder, half the Thunder team should be on an expansion team just hooping. You know, I don't know.
bro, it's nuts. Yo, let me bring up a quick. You were talking about Jalen Johnson coming on strong last year. I got a similar guy, Cam Thomas, bro.
Oh,
Is
great.
it, it's his third season. We've seen plenty of guys score 27 a game in their third season. It's just the way that he is doing it is so smooth and effortless. And it's we've seen this guy do this before. We've seen him draw 40 in 3 games before. And he's an instant offense guy for the Nets. And all of a sudden it changes the complexion of how good they could be. What is going on with this dude?
I mean, he's doing it really efficiently. Like honestly, finally, like the thing is for a guy who doesn't really pass the ball, rebound the ball, play the defense that well, like you got to shoot. If you're going to score 27 a game, you got to shoot like 47, 46% for us to like trust you. And in the past, he's been shooting like 43%, which is
Right.
like kind of some rookie numbers, frankly. But he stepped up. Now he's super efficient. So it's like, here, take 20 field goal attempts a game. And that's what the Nets are letting him do. Like, who else is going to shoot the rock there? And even though he's not super efficient from three, he's efficient enough to make you guard him.
Right.
He really does like leave something to be desired, in my opinion, on the defensive end. Like his
Mm,
defensive rating is worse than his offensive rating. So his
good.
net rating is -2. Not great despite
Right.
scoring 27 a game, but he's good. He's fantastic.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do we just have guys who last year scored 10 points a game just floating around ready to score 27 at a moment's notice? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Just ready to go. So many guys who can also like create their own shot
Yeah.
who aren't even in the top 100 of the NBA.
Mhm.
Cam Thomas borderline top 100. Emmanuel Quickly's borderline top 100. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking of guys that can put up their own shot, be a spark plug.
There's too many of them. Cole Anthony.
That is a great example.
That's gonna get a shot up.
Bro, yeah,
Gonna shoot the rock.
shout out. That's not gonna be on either of our impressed by categories here.
uh, Sorry, repeat that.
That's not gonna be on our impressed by categories here. Our,
Uh,
our boy who we were just
no,
talking
no.
about.
But I mean, if we can get into the who we're worried about, who we're impressed by.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Max, who are you feeling worried about?
what
Or who are you feeling impressed by or worried about?
I am feeling worried about the Kings and the Lakers, frankly.
Okay.
Very worried about the Lakers. They're too old of a team to start this slow. Don't see them rallying that much. Low key. Like I don't want to ring the alarm bells too early, but
Are
I kind of am.
are we revisiting the the finals pick
Not
at
yet,
the time?
but
Okay.
like I'm thinking about it. Like, because what iteration of this team that we've seen so far is like a finals contender, and obviously that's not how like teams like this work. Really, they're the teams that put it together for the run at the end. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I agree. There's just not enough talent like with the third guy. And maybe it'll come,
Yeah,
but there's just so many times where this offense feels a bit clunky and then they get wicked hot out of nowhere. Um, but I don't know.
Reeves isn't good enough.
Not right
Unfortunately,
now.
not
Not
right
right
now.
now. No,
If he
not at
was
all.
good enough, that would free up so much. They could do so much like more. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I get the Lakers. I think everybody's on the uh-oh. But if they were 5-3, we'd be like, okay, they're fine. So it's a it could go either way.
Yeah.
Um, but the Kings,
I don't know, bro. I just you watch them play and they're resilient and they play my Warriors tough, but like De'Aaron Fox is hurt. They
yeah.
didn't really upgrade their team. The whole rest of the West upgraded. Frankly, every single other team in the West in the top 10 got better in some sort of way. Even the Lakers did, as much as they're playing poorly. It doesn't feel like the Kings took a step outside of Keegan Murray just like getting better. And it almost feels like teams have figured them out a little bit more, with teams also having more wing depth in general in the West than previous. Which has always kind of been like, you know, Kevin Herter's just been bad to start the season and things like that. So I'm worried about him. If De'Aaron Fox is hurt for 10 games and they go 2-8, if Sabonis gets hurt again later or like hurt later in the season or something, and they go 3-7 in that stretch, they could find themselves as a fringe play in team sooner
Ooh.
rather than later, I think. They still have a lot of talent, but like their offense just is nowhere near as good as they were last year.
Yeah. I'm definitely not on the hold like on the alarm right now because
Not
with
yet.
yeah, because totally you lose De'Aaron Fox, and you still beat the Lakers in overtime, and then you lose by one to the Warriors with no Fox, and then you get waxed by Houston a couple times, which is totally valid. Then you rally back to win. Well, I mean, we'll see. There's a good game coming up for them against the Thunder, and so that's going to be a fun young team where I think you and I both have our like how we think these young teams are going to finish up swapped.
Yeah.
So that'll be a really good benchmark game for them to see how they play without De'Aaron Fox. He's their best player far and away. So when your best player isn't there and you're eking out wins here and there, I get it. It's tough. So it just shows how much they rely on him.
He's only been out like 2 games though, and obviously in those 2 games they lose.
Well, he missed Golden State, Houston, Portland.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So they're 1-3 in those games. And they lost to Golden State by one. So it's right on that wild. It was that that was against OKC.
No, but you're right though. He's only
Wild.
played 3 games this season. I don't know. I just, to be honest, I really find OKC to be in a different class than the Kings. Even if you just remove De'Aaron and remove SGA, like the rest of the pieces on OKC to me just work way better. And like Jalen Williams is like the third best. Jalen Williams feels like he doesn't play enough, and he's playing like 34 minutes a game just because there's not enough basketball to share between all these like amazing players on OKC. You know,
Oh, they're good. Okay.
fantastic. I love watching them. Frankly, I really do.
They're fun.
Um, moving on. I'll give you who I'm impressed by, or do you want to give me who you're worried about?
Um, Let me give you who I'm sad for.
Okay, okay,
Uh, I'm sad for the Grizzlies, man.
it's tough, man.
It's tough. Like, we're not going to eulogize them quite yet, but they are down bad. Seeing videos of Marcus Smart crying, they're doing my boy dirty down there in Memphis. It's tough. Injuries galore. No idea when Brandon Clark's coming back. Steven Adams out. It's a really tough situation. Desmond Bain is your best offensive player. Marcus Smart's all right, but is I think they're better than their record states. By the way, for even without the talent that they have, and Jaw will come back. So again, all is not lost. But right now, I'm sad for the Grizzlies.
I agree. Like circumstantially, I mean, like a few nights ago, it was something like Kennard was out, Rose was out, and then like no Brandon Clark, no Steven Adams, no Ja. Laravio is in the G League. It's like, dude, you're rolling up to a game with 8 players, literally, not even just like figuratively 8 NBA players. Like you're literally, you have a roster of 8 guys
Yeah.
rolling up to a basketball game, and it's like the 7th game of the NBA season. I totally agree. It's just sad. Like it's unfortunate. Just the injuries, jaw suspension, etc. Like this, it's not going to get better, frankly,
Right,
until December 19th.
bro. Is that the day he comes back?
Yeah.
Sheesh. I think the Grizzlies also dealt with like a few years ago this like insane like rotation of different players. They're is it 2001? Because they're not looking good.
Yeah. I think their like future in general though is totally fine. This is probably just a one season.
Yeah, they're so chilling.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm a flip it, I'll think of a different carnivorous animal from the Grizzlies, and I'll move to the Timberwolves, bro. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Timberwolves. They've beaten the Nuggets, they've beaten the Celtics. They look good. Anthony Edwards is taking the step that we all think, and I don't think anybody really needed to see Rudy Gobert play that much better, and Cat's not even playing that well quite yet. But this is a really interesting. He's coming along, but
I mean, I kind of like I feel like the pecking order is figured out, like Cat's averaging like 22 a game and Edwards is like the guy. And like they figured that dynamic out and they figured out that like Gobert is our defensive anchor and like we'll figure like the rest of our shit out. And it's like and then Edwards and Gobert have kind of figured their thing. Like they have a little two-man game coming along.
right.
Thoroughly impressed. And I love the other pieces on the team are great too. Kyle Anderson fits that whole mold of, that's just a big wing who can either play alongside both Gobert and Towns, or he can just play power forward next to one of those guys. I don't know. McDaniels obviously is spectacular, and as is Mike Conley, who
Oh,
somehow is just still here and he's still fantastic. Like,
dude,
yeah,
he's good, and yeah, he's still he's still that guy. And my sixth man of the year is playing like a sixth man of the year. Nas Reed, bro,
amazing. He's nice
he's good. He's not playing that many minutes per game.
because they can. Yeah, like
23 a game, right?
yeah.
Averaging 15, and then a block a game, few boards. He's putting up good numbers. He's there if one of those other guys goes down.
He's like a better Montrezl Harrell. Like
That's a good take.
like back in the, honestly, there's your comp. Oh, there's your 6-man comp.
That's a good, yeah. Like versatile, can shoot it okay from.
He's a little bit. He's better. He's better defensively, like more consistent defensively than Montrezl Harrell. Like, probably a better bag than Montrezl Harrell, honestly, too. But
Yeah.
anyways, I agree. I didn't see it with the T-Wolves, but previously, but they are nice. Like they are truly the vibes are good. They're deep. They have a good starting lineup, clear pecking order, continuity. I'm impressed.
It's bro, it's impressive. Rudy Gobert's playing solid defense, which for a big in the regular season, that's what you need.
Yeah. And then figure it out in the come playoff time, whatever.
Got to figure it out come playoff time. Yeah.
But so far in the regular season, if anything, I think he's been one of the best defensive centers. But also play style is always different in the playoffs. We do that discourse every podcast, but
100%.
yeah.
But toughest team against the Nuggets. So said the Nuggets last year.
They match up perfectly against them, so it'll be great.
Yeah.
When the T-Wolves win the chip. No.
Yeah.
And Edwards winning the chip would be fantastic for the people.
Bro, that would be nuts, bro.
Yeah.
2003-4 season is calling 20 years ago.
Yeah. I'll pony off that and I will talk about who I'm impressed with as well. We touched on this a little bit. The Nets, just really like watching them. They have a lot. It's a weird situation. A lot of role players. Ben Simmons, who can't play in the last 2 minutes of a game, but they figure it out. McCall Bridges like pretty good, and Cam Thomas pretty good, and they're like a feisty little team. It's like it's 12 guys that you'd like to have on your team, and then it's like the basketball gods blessing them at the same time because James Harden and Kyrie and KD. So yeah,
This is just such a team of like ups and downs and terrible trades, and then they build back up, and then they make another big trade, and then they build back up.
yeah.
It's just, the roller coaster of the Nets over the last decade and change has been unreal. And here we go again. We're right back in the middle of it. So it's cool, bro. Ben Simmons is a serviceable NBA player again.
More than serviceable. I mean, he just, again, still can't play in the fourth quarter pretty much, but like,
He's good. He's good.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lonnie
Um,
Walker, like that depth. Spencer Dinwiddie,
Royce
Dorian
O'Neal, Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, McCall Bridges, like,
Jr. It's a lot of guys.
yeah. And then the second team that really impresses me so far is the Mavericks. I just think the roles are really working and they're probably operating at peak performance right now, frankly. Like, I don't really see them getting a lot better than this. But this team is starting to make sense. Even if like Grant Williams like shouldn't be your third best player, but
Um, yeah, dude. I need to watch a Mavs game. I haven't watched a Mavs game yet. But overall, to be 6-2 at this point, Kyrie is not shooting the ball really well either. So their offense will get a boost. He doesn't need to score more, right? He doesn't need to put up more shots per game. But he's averaging 20 points per game on like 42% shooting, 27 from the 3-point line. So I think if he can kind of figure that out, that steadies the ship there. I think we were both kind of iffy on the Mavs, like they're playing type team. Do we adjust that?
I might because I just think they're gonna play a lot. Like this is a durable team, pretty much. Dude. Like I think they're just gonna play a lot and they're gonna win 44, 45 games maybe, and that's probably gonna be better than the plan. I think it'll be
Yeah.
close. It'll be close, but like I don't see them missing the playoffs like last year. Like this team clearly makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fully see that. They're better. They got better in the areas that they need.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover?
Hmm. Bro, we could just go on and on. Here, I'll throw a few names your way, and you
Okay.
just kind of give me your Jalen Duren.
Oh, terrific. We covered him a little bit on the last podcast, but I really like him. I think, as like I said on the last part, like I think it was 2 podcasts ago, actually. Like this is your center. Like this is now the Pistons' future center. Really good, great passer. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. And the Pistons are super fun to watch. Ausar Thompson being an incredible rebounder and defender straight out the gate is insane. Like he's gonna be all defensive team for like 10 years. Like straight up. Like I cannot believe how good he is defensively as a 20-year-old.
You see what Draymond Green said?
Yeah, he was like, it's getting tough. Wemby and the Thompson twins, how am I supposed to make a defensive team?
Yeah. Bro, nuts.
Yeah. So
Detroit, bro. Like, yeah.
uh, Thompson can't shoot at all, but like if he's literally so good defensively, he doesn't need to shoot and still be play a lot of valuable minutes. Like honestly,
Bro, yeah. No, he's something else.
no.
All right. Oh, Scotty Barnes.
Oh, terrific, terrific. This is what we were hoping to see this in year 2 after year 1, but I feel like now the experiment of having him kind of more as a point guard last year, I think it's working out because now he's really dictating the offense. Him and Dennis Schroeder are so fun to watch in Toronto. Um, he's like kind of the man, if that makes any sense. Like he's the one with 2 minutes left. He's like, give me the rock. And I don't think the Raptors are that good, but it's starting to make sense. The thing is starting to make sense. Like Scotty is clearly the alpha, and Siakam isn't. And it's fine because honestly, Scotty right now is probably better than what Siakam was up until recently,
21, 10, and 6. Can I interest you in that? That's nuts.
Yes, you can interest me in it.
Yeah.
Dude is gross. And he's great defensively. Checks out occasionally, but
I mean, yeah, for him, he's not beating those allegations. So what can you do? But amazing player. And probably the best player on the Raptors right now.
Yeah. But I do want to give Dennis Schroeder a shout out. I think he's averaging something ridiculous like 20 and 10 or something this year. Maybe not that insane, but I think he's averaging like 17 and 9.
Oh my Lord.
Like dog shooting 47% from the floor, 40% from three.
Wow.
This is a guy a year ago was getting 30 minutes a game on the Lakers and scored like 11 points a game.
What is it with these guys that go to the Lakers and just start playing terrible, and then right before they leave?
Yeah, it's tough. Also like Dennis Schroeder does have the ball a lot more, gets to dictate a little bit more. And at the peak before this, we saw him in OKC when he was playing alongside CP3.
Yeah.
And they were playing like off of each other a lot. And I think that's where Dennis like excels the most.
Yeah.
Another good example of why we need expansion teams, to be honest.
Even in Atlanta, dude, he was starting to come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last kind of player question. Celtics backcourt.
Oh, lovely. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't have too many negative takeaways at all. Like, some of the late game stuff or like weird stalls on the Celtics, I'm kind of done blaming it on the supporting cast. They're good. Like, Jalen, a little slow start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, as good as advertised is probably how I'd put it.
Yeah. Valid.
What about you?
I mean, I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
This is great. They're exactly what we need. Weirdly, Drew Holiday is such a good rebounder.
Yeah.
And it was sick seeing Embiid post him up and then pass out of the post in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid's dribbling, right? And he moves and he gets stopped. And I had to check in on who was guarding him. It's Drew.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man. It's exciting. And I'm with you at the end of games. Got to figure that out. And I think with time that will happen.
And that's not a Drew or Derek White thing, like in my opinion. That's not they're not getting paid to win the game in the fourth, They're there to put Tatum and Brown in that situation. And honestly, more times than not, they're going to deliver. So this is a dangerous team.
Yeah, nutty. Real quick, NBA world. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter, Bucks Pacers. Giannis, he shot the ball 21 times. Max, how many of those do you think he's made?
I have no idea. I haven't checked the game.
Yes. What do you think? He shot it 21 times. How many has he made?
12?
17.
He's only missed 5 shots.
He has 50 points.
They're losing.
And it's a tight game against Indiana. Oh Lord.
I didn't mean I was looking at my fantasy team. And I have Aaron Nesmith and I was like, oh, they're winning, but okay.
They are winning.
But yeah, tight game. Yeah. I'm about to go watch that. Damn.
I'm about to go watch that too. All right. Well, is it about the time to close up?
It is.
All right. Well, thank you, NBA fans. Max, you got any final words?
I have no final words. My final words is still, I love you, Steph Curry, even though you bricked the left-handed layup against the Nuggets, or else the agendas were about to be insane on this podcast. If the Warriors had won last night, I was gonna be spreading some absolute misinformation.
Bro, it is a game of inches, AO, with layups. So fully get that though. Hey,
yo, no,
hey, yo, timeout on the play. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, our subscribers, valued fans, can we get some Patreons going? Well, then we'll be chilling here as always. Spittin' Hoops.
Y'all be easy.
See ya.